After 22 years with the same company, my 31-year-old CEO smirked and said, "If you're not comfortable, there's the door." He thought I'd just walk away, but I walked through that door and took his career with me. My name is Richard Hale, and I gave 22 years of my life to Averex Dynamics, a tech logistics company that started in a two-room office and grew into a national brand. I joined when I was 24, back when the founders still fixed printers themselves, and everyone worked side by side. I started as a technician, worked my way up to operations head, and knew every system, every process, every client relationship by heart. For years, my dedication wasn't questioned. I lived and breathed that company. Then, 3 years ago, the founders retired, and everything changed. The board brought in a young CEO, Ethan Brooks, just 31, fresh out of some Ivy League MBA. He had perfect hair, perfect confidence, and absolutely no respect for anyone who'd been there longer than him. At first, I tried to help him understand how Averex worked, how our clients valued personal trust, not flashy presentations, but he didn't listen. He called us dinosaurs and said he wanted a younger, more dynamic culture. That's when I noticed the first wave of layoffs. Older employees, people who'd built the foundation of Averex, were being phased out. I was safe for a while, until the day I disagreed with him. We were in a meeting about a new distribution model that would automate half the warehouse staff. I told him, calmly, "Ethan, the data looks good on paper, but our system isn't ready for this scale. We'll risk massive downtime if we rush it." He leaned back, smirked, and said in front of everyone, "If you're not comfortable with change, Richard, there's the door." The room went silent. He waited for me to react, to beg or apologize. I didn't. I simply said, "Then I'll take the door." By the end of the week, I was out. 22 years gone with a single line in my termination letter: failure to adapt to company direction. I walked out with nothing but my experience and a small USB drive, something I'd been keeping for years without realizing how important it would become. The first few weeks were rough. No one hires a 46-year-old ex-operations manager easily, especially when the industry is obsessed with innovation. I applied everywhere, got polite rejections, and felt my confidence crumble. One evening, while sorting old files, I found that USB drive. Backups of Averex's logistics and client data I'd used for training years ago. Out of curiosity, I opened them and noticed something odd. There were irregular financial reports, duplicates of vendor invoices, and names of suppliers that didn't exist. Someone had been funneling money through fake shipping accounts, and the pattern started right after Ethan took over. That night, my anger finally had a direction. I didn't rush. I spent weeks gathering evidence quietly. Everything I had was legitimate: data I'd created, access logs tied to my projects, and emails where Ethan approved accelerated vendor partnerships. I knew exposing him directly would look like revenge, and no one listens to the fired guy. So I went another way. I reached out to two people: Lara, an old coworker from accounting who'd been quietly let go after raising budget questions; Alex, one of our biggest clients, whose contract I personally managed for years. Lara had the missing pieces: proof of payments to ghost accounts under the name Brooks Consulting, Ltd. Alex had motivation. His company had overpaid millions of dollars due to inflated logistics costs. We joined forces, quietly. Together, we compiled a confidential report with every document, timestamp, and transaction trail and sent it anonymously to Averex's board of directors, their external auditing firm, and the Federal Financial Crimes Bureau. Then we waited. 3 months later, it happened. Aberex's office was swarming with investigators. Ethan's innovation fund had turned out to be a money laundering scheme, funneling client funds into shell vendors tied to his private accounts. It wasn't just fraud, it was felony-level embezzlement. The company released a public statement. Averex Dynamics has identified financial irregularities and is cooperating fully with authorities. Ethan was arrested, his assets frozen, and his LinkedIn went dark overnight. The board reinstated several senior managers who'd been unfairly terminated to help stabilize the company. Then I got a call. It was from James Caldwell, one of the original founders. He said, "Richard, we found your name attached to some of the recovery data. You were the one who blew the whistle, weren't you?" I hesitated. Then he said, "You did the right thing. How would you feel about coming back as an independent consultant?" They wanted me to help rebuild operations, but this time on my terms. No boss, no office politics, 6-figure pay. I agreed, not out of revenge, but because closure felt right. The first time I walked back into Averex headquarters, Ethan's old office was empty. But his motivational quote still hung on the wall. "Change is the only constant." I smiled and whispered, "So is karma." Sometimes walking out the door isn't losing. It's the beginning of your greatest comeback.